10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the Morning Shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us on this June the 9th, Monday, June the 9th, 2025. It's going to be a great show as usual, I promise. We have Bob Johnson and Tom Price waiting in the green room to come on and have a chat. Always a good chat with them that then stirs some pots in the city with just some of the things that we talk about. I guess if we're critical or we're giving critique to the city, it's always good to hear the other side, so to speak. So love to hear from people in the city, able to give their perspective, and then hear from those that have done their own analysis of things that are going on in the city. And we just keep our finger on the pulse and try to have a conversation nonetheless. This is your conversation on your station, CKLU 96.7 FM, each and every weekday morning. And we get the ball rolling with the weather, and then we have news headlines, and the odd time, a good enough amount of the time, we'll have people on to discuss. And then other times we just have our people that are commenting on the show to be part of the conversation. They're kind of like co-hosts in a large way. And we do our best to get the comments read for those listening, up on the screen for those watching. We're also found on streaming on CKLU 96.7 FM. If you click on the Radio Player Canada app, you can stream us. If you download the same Radio Player Canada app, you can take us with you. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. We're also then found on demand on those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News, and on our website, sudbury.news, which is a news aggregator. It brings all the local news into one webpage, and then you just click on the Sudbury News Talk tab, and you can watch the show on demand there. So there's 4 ways to catch the show on demand after the live, and then there's on the radio, there's streaming audio from the Radio Player Canada app, and then there's 2 live platforms, Facebook and YouTube. So make sure to comment. We'll do our best again to get your comments up on the screen. Today, I don't know if I'll be able to read them aloud, but you can catch the show on demand to see all the comments. And if I do catch a comment or two as a question for our guests, Bob and Tom, then I'll read them. But I'm also trying to listen, ask my own questions, and moderate and run all the equipment all at the same time. So it's not always the easiest, but I do my best. I give you that. So we'll be back right after the weather. We'll have our special guests, Tom Price and Bob Johnson, right after this. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show, I promise, or your money back. And Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently it's 11 degrees. It's mostly cloudy out there, and today we can expect a few showers ending near noon. Then a mix of sun and cloud with a 40% chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm this afternoon. Wind gusting to 40 kilometers per hour, high of 21, UV index 7. Or high tonight, mainly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers this evening. 40% chance of showers beginning near midnight. Risk of thunderstorm early this evening, so risk of thunderstorm this afternoon, risk of thunderstorm early this evening. And then tomorrow, a few showers ending near noon. Then cloudy with a 40% chance of showers and a risk of thunderstorm again tomorrow afternoon. Then a high of 17. So look at your long range. On Wednesday, a 40% chance of showers, high of 25. Thursday, a 30% chance of showers, high of 22. And then Friday, 19, mix of sun and cloud. Saturday, 20 degrees and cloudy. And Sunday, 24 and a mix of sun and cloud. It's shaping up for a rather cloudy week with quite a bit of precipitation in the forecast. And as you can see from the satellite, if you are able to see, if you're just listening, there's a lot of clouds everywhere and precipitation as well. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with Tom and Bob right after this. Okay, and we have Bob and Tom on here. I heard them chatting this morning, so I know the volume is working, the sound is working. And so, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's dive right in. We've had you guys on the show, I think, at least 3 times, I believe, already. And it's always been a good conversation. Our audience appreciates the candidness and, the information that we share on the show. And so, what is it? I know you guys had a public meeting. Not just this last Thursday, but the Thursday before. And so let us know a little bit of what you guys have been up to and how that meeting went.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to do a recap on a few things, and then Tom will get into his meeting and etc.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, so I want to start off by stating that the city of Sudbury has finally turned on the fountain at the Sudbury Arena for water for the homeless. That's awesome. We're still looking for some bathrooms and garbage cans. It's a slow process. We'll just keep fighting. But one of my great concerns today is the soup kitchen used to serve 220 people a day for lunch, okay? And now they're down to 140. But our homeless population numbers have gone up. So where are these people? Now they're in the bush, they're hiding. It's a great safety issue for everybody. But now, in front of the Samaritan Center is spotless. And I mean spotless. But if you go over to Medina Lane, that's where all our addicts are. Why can't we get some road workers over there and working on the addictions? Just introduce yourself. Make them feel like they're somebody. I stopped by, I had a 10-minute conversation with one guy. And he goes, "Oh, I know you, you're Bob." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know you. What the hell are you doing?" And it was, he was great to be, he was happy to talk to me. And these people are lonely right now. And we have to take our resources and get them out where they belong. I talked a couple shows ago that, the homeless is homeless, the addictions are addictions, mental health is mental health. Well, now it's a perfect opportunity because the addicts are on Medina Lane, your homeless are in the bush. Let's start looking and working, people. We can resolve this slowly because they want help. They're asking for help, but we don't do it. Another belief in what was brought up was the old hospital. Everybody's complaining about it and so on and so on. Well, first of all, before anything's done, I'd like to have a sweep on that building from top to bottom, see who's in there, see if there's any missing people in there, because the missing people in Sudbury are ridiculous. Where are these girls gone? They're somewhere. And I would really like to get that hospital checked out.
Yeah, and this isn't just it's not just a Sudbury thing either. I remember hearing some statistics the other day that Canada in general, the missing persons is way higher than, countries that were war-torn and a lot of, cartels and things like that. Like Nicaragua back in the day was known as like one of the most dangerous places in the world, and per capita Canada is way up higher than what their numbers were for missing persons. And it doesn't really get any, the news really doesn't cover it, doesn't say, hey, there's a bit of a crisis going on with missing persons. But Sudbury is also reflective of that national statistic as well. And so, yeah, so what is going on? How are all these people just going missing? And I thought there was cameras all over the city myself. And so to me, I would think, you know, it'd be safer and people would be seeing people being abducted on these, you know, cameras that are all over the city. But that's just me. But yeah, what's going on? Why are there so many people being abducted? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not overly. All I know is that the media is not doing their job. Why they're not investigating into this and finding out who's who and everything else. You know, a poor family's got to do all their advertising themselves on Facebook and so on.
Yep.
And it's totally wrong.
Yeah, it's out of control. There's a lot. And I just read on Facebook, there was a few people, Walmart in the South End felt they were being followed through Walmart. There's 2 individuals that were pretty much creeping this person out. And rightfully so. They went through the cash, went out to the car and put their whatever they bought in their car. And there were these 2 guys right there ready to do something. And if it wasn't for a friend coming over, felt that they might have been, you know, taken or whatever, because the 2 guys were right beside her car, drove up in a car and pulled in and looked like they were about to do something. And so this was in the South End in broad daylight. So pretty scary stuff.
Exactly. That is so true, because I've heard a lot about that happening.
Yeah, and then there was other people on the comments saying, hey, that same thing happened to me, and they're all sharing their stories. And I'm like, why isn't this like on the 6 o'clock news? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm just reading through, scrolling through and seeing this, I'm sure others are as well. But it is a thing. I'm not sure why it's not being talked about. So yeah, I have the same questions as you do on that one.
And my other question before I pass it over to Tom is the arena. Now it's sort of being quieted down and they're talking about different things. Not much, but just to throw the community off balance when it comes down to the arena costs. Well, we're not going to give that up. It's still over $500 million. I don't care what day of the week it is. But we still have no response from our city council mayor. Why?
Well, I think when we had Mike on, Mike Perron, the Ward 5 councillor for the greater city of Sudbury, he had said that they're going to be releasing that in September, and then he'd have no problem coming on the show, even with yourself and Tom, once the numbers are public or whatever. He said they're going through a process and we'll know what those numbers are in September. Have you heard anything about that?
Nope. We've had no contact whatsoever.
Okay, so just to let you know, he was on the show, I think not this last Friday, but the Friday before. And
yes, I picked up, I got part of that show, yeah.
Yeah, so I put the question out to him. I said, hey, would you be open to coming on and just having an open discussion kind of thing? Because I know that would be, 1, entertaining for the people in Sudbury, 2, very informative, and 3, a way to kind of, another format to have accountability and just discussion about these things that so many people feel aren't transparent and are being done kind of behind closed doors or whatever. It would just be a way to have an open discussion about things. So yeah, so hopefully that'll be coming. Exactly,
because if you look today and you go down around where the arena is supposed to be, all the infrastructure and road work and so on going on, is that coming from a different budget? It's not coming from the 200 million. I know that much. So yeah, where's it coming from?
Yeah, and these are the questions, that we need to have answered. And according to Mike, they are accumulating all of this information, and it's going to be made public in September. So in a few short months. So that was what he had said. I can go back and watch the show again to get exactly what he's saying. But I know Belinda's just saying here she saw some signs up in bathrooms along Highway 69 warning about human trafficking, that they know some of them are coming through Thunder Bay and passing through Sudbury. So just some information for people out there to be aware. And it's unfortunate that we have to be aware of that kind of thing these days in our own country and not feel safe, but it is what it is. So I just wanted to inform everyone about that. Okay, well, thank you very much, Bob. There's all kinds of these issues going on. I'm also concerned about, the homelessness, the addictions, how the city is handling it. Can we do a better job? You're darn right we can. Are we cleaning up the downtown and just kind of forcing people out to the fringes of the city and going into the bush? Yes, that's true. I see in the valley a lot of homeless coming out of the bushes and just walking along the main roads. And so then they don't have access to things like the soup kitchen. So that is kind of alarming for sure. And people,
Yep.
that's not what I don't think what people would have voted for. Yeah, let's just have a bunch of people living in the bush, instead of coming up with other solutions. But I'm concerned just as much as you are for the same reasons.
So we'll wait till another quarter of a year before we get any numbers. The only thing I can see is I hope they're really true numbers, because this is ridiculous. All that empty space sitting there and so on and so on. What was the big bang? It was because he wanted the Fantasy Island project to go. That's the only reason. And with that, I hope everybody has a great day. Talk to you soon. Here's Tom.
Thanks, Bob. Much appreciated. And good morning, Tom. Thanks for being on today.
Good morning and pleasure to be here. I'll just adjust this there. Now you can see me.
Yeah, you're looking good this morning. So yeah, you guys have been busy. You had your meeting, not this last Thursday, but the Thursday before at Grace Family Church. How did that go? What were some of the highlights?
Well, some time ago, back in April, we presented the city with a list of 7 items that people were concerned about and wanted information on, and the cost was only one of those, okay? So we presented all 7 of them at the meeting at Grace Family Church. We're waiting for response from any of them. We have sent registered letters to the city. We've requested that we be allowed to be one of the community groups meeting with the project team or the counselors, we don't care which, in order to get some of the answers. We've had no response whatsoever. And we have just now recently, as of last Friday, issued another letter to them asking when we're going to be acknowledged. We've heard nothing back yet on that. If we hear nothing, or if we do hear something from them, we are planning a next meeting 2 weeks from last Thursday at the same location, and we will expose the answers that we get from the city. Now, if you mentioned Mr. Pradon talking about September to have some numbers. Well, they've been working on this project for 10 years, since 2015, and they don't have numbers yet?
Apparently not. Apparently not. Apparently.
Absolutely incredible, AJ.
Yeah, I was told September they were going to have some numbers and that they're just doing the preliminary work now to get those numbers. And
you know what that tells me? As a project man, that tells me that they need till September to figure out how they can hide the numbers they haven't been disclosing.
Interesting.
Now, we'll see whether that's true or not, but that's what it tells me as a project manager.
Interesting, for sure. So if that's the way, so anyone could be told that, look, these big projects, they need all of the analysis, and in order to make sure we got our numbers correct, it's going to take some time, and then the city staffers are going to give a report to council on their findings, and we'll know all the numbers then. So let's say I'm just saying that, no, that's the way it's normally done. What would you say to that?
I'd say that's baloney. You do not proceed with all the costs that they've been proceeding with, over $40 million already spent, without knowing your end cost. So that's just a pile of bafflegad.
Okay, so So in order to proceed with all these millions, buy these buildings up, knock them down, put in some of the infrastructure like gas and hydro and do all the underground work and the sewers and like the preliminary work they've been doing for the arena, you're saying you as a project manager, you don't go ahead and do that type of preliminary work without knowing what this project is going to cost in the end. Am I kind of summing that up correctly?
That's right. You wouldn't
Okay.
build a house without knowing what it's going to cost you, would you?
I wouldn't myself, no. And
No.
no, and I don't know who would. I guess you'd have to have a lot of money, which I guess the city does have a lot of money when you think about it, because they can always get more, right? They can either borrow or they can
They
just
have
raise
more money.
taxes.
They don't have any money. They have our money.
Correct. In the
It's us
end,
that has the money.
yeah, I read a story just recently, Tyler Clark from Sudbury.com, talking about the city going from what it was 6 years ago, something like, I don't know, it was just in the double digits of debt in terms of millions. It might have even been as low as 14 million, could have been 40. I forget the exact, but it was a low amount. And then we're going to be over $600 million in debt in the foreseeable future. So in 6 short years, we've gone from the low double digits in the millions of debt to, or more than $600 million in a short period of time.
But you have to appreciate, AJ, that 600 million is just the loans. That does
Yes.
not include the debt of the interest payments.
Correct.
So the debt is, well, at least 40% more than that. So you're over 800 million,
By the-
including your interest you
by
have
the-
to pay.
Yeah, by the time you're done paying that off. Unfortunately, I think they're taking the model from higher governments where they're just always in a deficit, always, never reaching their, never balancing the books and just constantly keeping that going. I think they're kind of taking a page out of that philosophy and that way of management, as far as I can see, because people just, they don't seem to vote against it. They don't seem to understand that that's just not a way to run a country, run a province, or run a city, always in debt. But then Tyler Clark went on to say, well, they actually could be borrowing far more than that. They're actually being very conservative with their borrowing compared to the potential that they're able to borrow. He mentioned that in the article.
Absolutely. And you know why that is? Because they do not include the infrastructure debt in what they give to the Standard & Poor's and Moody's and these people to give us a credit rating. If you include the infrastructure debt, we wouldn't be able to borrow a penny. In fact, the banks won't lend us any money, and that's why we went to a bullet debenture in 2020, because the banks wouldn't even respond. They wouldn't lend us money because they know what it's like here. But we give the information about our debt situation to the ratings community, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and we don't tell them about our infrastructure debt of $3 billion. And so they think we're in good financial shape. Well, we're not. It's that simple. We're just simply not.
So how do these big organizations like the ones you just mentioned not know? Do they just turn a blind eye? Is it just like games they play? Because really, I mean, if you're lending money like that or you're giving a rating to a city, don't they know that there's also infrastructure debt that's just not being reported?
They are very coy in their assessments. They state unequivocally that they take information provided by the city without verifying any of it, without auditing any of it, and accept it as a given. So whatever the city gives them, that's what they use. And they state that in their reports. So that's what we based our borrowing rate on.
I also asked Mike, I said, I still would like to see a third party arm's length audit of our city. I think the citizens would as well. I think if you were to put a referendum out there and ask if you did have somebody who was qualified or a firm that was qualified to do a third party arm's length audit of our city, I do believe we'd have a lot of people. We'd have the majority of the city wanting that, to be able to see, misspending. Are there ways we can, tighten up things and save money? Are we flat out, I'll use the C word, corruption, is that a third party audit would find that through the money trail. And so that would be important to people to know. If that was going on, they'd want that to stop. But Mike said, no, we got a new CFO and of the highest integrity. And that's why we have that in the city, to be able to do audits, internal audits. And we should be satisfied with that. What's your kind of thoughts on that? Am I barking up the wrong tree with what I think should be done with the city or is important to a lot of people?
I think he is out of touch on so many bases in making that statement. For example, what good is a person of high integrity if they have low ethics or no ethics? And integrity means nothing without ethics. So ask him the next time he's on, ask him what is the ethical qualifications of that individual. Okay? Further to that, just on the same path as audit, we have looked at the references in both the Price Waterhouse report and in the Brisbane Bain Brook report, or Brook Bain report, to see about other projects that they reference. There are 22 different projects referenced with pretty pictures, with, oh yeah, how this is good for the city and everything else. Not one of them did they provide a post-audit. Not one of them did they provide any benchmarking. And not one of them did they provide any results on how it did affect the economics of the city with GDP calculations. Not for any one of 22. But, hey, I guess our council looked at the pictures and said, hey, that's for us, never mind the money. Because I don't know how else they could have made their decision without that. Those three sources of information are critical to any project.
So can you give us an idea of what maybe a couple of those projects were of those 22? Do you know of any specific projects?
There's London, there's 22 all over North America, Europe, Australia. There's a complete list of them in both of the reports. They're all listed and they all have pictures. And yeah, they look pretty. But they don't tell you any financial information about them.
And you're saying they find these projects that are going on in other cities around the world and they say that would be great for Sudbury. Let's do that here. Is that what is in that report?
That's all I can see in it.
Okay.
Because, and for example, and I think I mentioned to you earlier that the other day that we should be talking about environment. There is nothing in any of the reports to date about the environment, other than they're going to be able to meet part of SEEP requirements. Well, SEEP is a local project by the city that the city has approved spending $1 billion by 2050 on projects. And they're already spending that money. They spend $1 million every kilometer for a bicycle lane. Well, for $1 million, instead of a bicycle lane that takes maybe 5 or 6 people out of their cars for the summer, they could have a rail transit system picking off 70 people. Who looked at that? And absolutely nobody. There's nothing in any of the reports that they've done. And it's recognized around the world now that building new buildings simply adds to the problem. It does not subtract from it. Like, take our existing arena. The only CO2 from our existing arena is from the operation. So that's all they looked at in the reports. What will it be the CO2 from the operation? Well, that's fine, but that's only 20% of the emissions for that building. 80% of the emissions from that building will be in the construction of it. They don't even talk about that. So how much of this will be in the report that Mike is talking about for September? It's one of the 7 questions we asked them that they aren't able to answer or they chose not to answer. Well, there's only one reason, maybe 2 reasons why people won't answer questions. 1, they don't know. 2, they do know and don't want you to know. That's
Now,
it. That's the 2 reasons.
Can you go through what those 7 questions were again then, just for the audience so that we're...
The first one is the market area. The market area that's in the 2 reports, one in 2019 and one in, 2019 and one in 2024, both define an area from the Quebec border to the east shore of Lake Superior and from Sudbury north to the shoreline of Hudson Bay. 387,000 square kilometers, having a population density of 1.46 people per square kilometer. That isn't even enough to feed a street vendor. Okay? Now, that is one. Why that area? Who from Madawapiskat, who from Minsk, who from Moosonee is going to come down to Sudbury for a hockey game?
So what you're saying is, I have a business background, startups and whatever, and business plans. So what you have to do is a market analysis and say, okay, what's my potential market? And there's other things about markets. So what you're saying is, in order for them to make a case that this is going to be a viable project, they have to say, well, there's this many people in our market that would be potential to come to this arena and make it profitable. But you're saying as if it's too wide of a market area for a project like this, which I tend to agree with. So I just wanted to kind of, I guess, put it in layman's terms.
Well, the other aspect of the market area, and we identified these, first of all, is transit. Any public venue like this requires public transit to get a good portion of the customers there. There's no transit for those areas north of Timmins. In fact, Sudbury Transit doesn't even cover more than a third of Greater Sudbury. So transit is not a factor in that market area. Transportation. Well, transportation, you've seen it in the city. How many people are going to come here and want to drive our roads to get to a hockey game? Or to get to a singer from California who's going to reap millions of dollars out of the community and only sing a few songs.
Or the whole thing is too, to me, it's the parking issue downtown.
Well, the parking issue was in both of those reports. It was part of the GDP calculation for those 2 reports. And now our former manager of development and infrastructure says, oh, no, parking, we're just going to have dispersed parking.
Mm-hmm.
So were they lying before in including those parking? Was that, it was part of the financial justification. So now that it's out of there, is there any justification left? No. So why are we still proceeding? If he's taken the parking out, that was part of the GDP calculation.
Yep.
I can show it to you in their writing.
Because that's the thing, you know, having spent a good part of my early life in Sault Ste. Marie and seeing their arena and their situation, every game of the Sioux Greyhounds is a sellout. Standing room only, and sometimes you can't even get a ticket for standing room. It's packed every time. Now, is that because people in the Sioux love hockey more than people in Sudbury? I don't think so. Sudbury's population is almost 3 times what it is in the Sioux. Or, you know what I mean? It's arguably whatever. It's more than double. And they have an arena downtown, so we'd have an arena downtown too. we already have an arena downtown, and our games would be just as packed. They don't go there because it's a new arena. It was always a sellout in the old Memorial Gardens as well. It was always sold out, standing room only. But that is, I think, comes down to the only reason, because they have ample parking, free parking.
No.
And
No.
it's the mall across the street. It's the whole mall parking lot is the parking for the arena. So if you can't park right beside the arena, you park across the street, and you just have to walk across the street. That's the farthest you have to walk to get. But in Sudbury, you have to walk blocks to get to the arena, and there's barely any parking anywhere.
But that's not why there's a difference.
Okay, so there's another reason.
The arena in the Sioux is one of their largest public events. Okay? In Sudbury, our largest public event is Costco.
Okay, yes. And that is true. You do have a point there. I've made that point several times on the show, for sure. Yes.
Go to the parking lot in Costco and see how it fills up.
Packed.
Especially on a Saturday.
Packed.
Yes, and on Sunday. London. What's downtown? 2 blocks from the arena. The largest indoor shopping mall in southwestern Ontario. What is right across the street from the arena? A vegetable farmer's market that's been there for 200 years. It's been rebuilt 2 or 3 times. It has underground parking for 400 vehicles. They are right across the street from the arena. That draws up to 400 vehicles a day.
Mm-hmm.
Shopping is a big issue because people need food, they need clothing, they need all the supplies to go. It will attract the customers. An arena will only attract it when there's an event at an arena. Now, if the Sioux shopping area is limited, which it is, okay, then the next thing is the arena. So let's close all the shopping areas during the hours of the arena, and we'll have people going to our arena again because they want entertainment. And if you go out to the New Sudbury Shopping Center there, Silver Hills, and any of the shopping centers, they're packed.
True.
You want customers? Put what the customers are after close to it.
For sure.
So,
and another thing, though, at the same time, I do know people don't want to go to the game here, myself included a lot of the times, because I think, okay, where am I going to park? And then it's freezing cold out because hockey takes place in the winter. So does basketball. And, okay, am I going to park 7 blocks away and walk through the freezing cold? And a lot of people, like for the reasons Bob brought up too, like the homelessness has increased, a lot of the problems with drug addiction and things, and people don't feel all that safe as well walking downtown, and so there's that, and I just feel if they were going to go ahead with an arena, if it was part of, they would have to come up with a parking structure right beside the arena, if not like right there. They would have to somehow accommodate the people to drive and park and go simply into the arena in a short proximity. That's just me. And then they're leaving that out. So that's again, and I know other people feel the same way. I just wanted to make that point.
no, it's not just you. You're right. A lot of other people. And of interest is in 1973, in plans to build the Civic Square, there was a parking structure included. There were 5 objectives for the Civic Square on how it was going to, make Sudbury a vibrant community and be the central hub of all this and that. None of the 5 objectives have been met. We now have 5 of those already in the objectives for the hockey rink. And I insist on calling it a hockey rink. Okay, that's what it is. It doubles as an event center, but its prime purpose is a hockey rink. Okay, and we have 5 of those same objectives today for that hockey rink. Well, if they haven't been accomplished so far because of the events or because of the Civic Square, what is it about a hockey rink that we need to add 1,400 new seats in order to get people to come here and make the parking condition even worse? Like, these are questions we want to have answered by the city, and they won't even respond to our request to be a public group. That's all we've asked, is we would like to be one of the groups, other community groups that the city interfaces with on this event center. They've had 10 years to do this, AJ. Over those 10 years, they've spent $40 million. That's $4 million a year. And they don't have numbers? I would, I'm not criticizing you, but I would have been asking Mike, well, what have they been doing for 10 years? We've been paying them to do something.
Yeah. And again, he's only been here for the what, 2.5,
He's
3
been
years?
here longer than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
How long has he lived in Sudbury?
Oh, how long has he lived here?
Yeah.
Oh, longer than the time he's been in council, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. So just saying that I've only been on council for 3 years. No. You've been here a lot longer than that, buddy. You know the conditions.
For sure.
Like, that's just a cop-out. Now, I don't know whether he said that or whether you assumed that, and it doesn't matter. It's just a cop-out because he's been here a lot longer. All of these councillors have. We haven't had a responsible council since 2001. I have all the names. I have who reigned when. I have the things that they didn't do. And we haven't had responsible council since 2001. Our city has become an institution, not a city.
And before this last election for mayor and council, I remember they had enough. And it was just something I've never really seen in Sudbury. Like, they were just like, we need change. It's just, we can't have this. And I've never seen that from the citizens of Sudbury. And, but as soon as I saw Paul Lefebvre put his name in the hat, I knew right away he's going to win. He's the only known candidate, and that's usually what'll get you the votes as a mayor anyways. And then I knew which party he was coming from. I knew how they ran things. And I just said, well, we are going to get change. Excuse me. I don't think it's the kind of change people are going to be wanting for. I think it's just going to be more of the same, or, more spending, more. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you have to remember, AJ, that the majority said they didn't want any of these councillors.
So explain.
They wouldn't even go vote.
Oh, I see. Yeah, a lot of people are. Yeah, they're apathetic these days. And
no, it's not apathetic. It's frustration.
Or exactly. Yeah.
It's frustration, not empathy.
Yeah. My own daughter wouldn't vote.
Yeah. So as long as you have people refusing to vote, like we have a minority council. And no criticism of Merrick Benoit or Mike Perron, but they got about 1,000 to 1,500 votes out of 6,000. And they're on council. How? How did they win? They didn't win. They got appointed by other councillors who wanted them. That is corruption.
Yeah, it's it's definitely something that people have lost faith in our system, whether it's at the federal, provincial, or municipal level. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, it just doesn't matter who you vote for, anyways. They're just going to put whoever they want in there," and that's just not right. And I know people might say, "Yeah, but they shouldn't be feeling like that. They should just go out and vote anyways." And you can't really complain if you don't vote, but people have lost faith in it, and they don't think they can make a real difference, and that's very sad. It's very sad that we've reached that point on many levels.
Well, what we're trying to do with OTOC is to rejuvenate. I won't call it revitalize because it isn't a revitalization issue, but to rejuvenate the spirit of voting. Because if people can see what's being done wrong loud enough, perhaps then they will get out and vote for a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's we don't have a council. The council, right now, the council, knowing what we know about the event center, the council should put a stop to it. And they did in 2022. Now they're being told that the construction cost only is going to be 200 million, and they vote to continue it. Well, what about all the other costs? I mean, you voted against it once, you killed it once, and now you're going to go for it again at twice the cost? What's wrong with these people?
I just think it's, again, the ones that just wanted it downtown in the first place or whatever. It was just that when it was, they could kill the kid, so to speak, and that was done, then it was revitalized the theory or the thought that we can now do it downtown again.
At twice the cost.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money, and we know now with the tariffs, with the inflation, you name it. The more it's not, the more we hold off, the more it's going to cost, and it is what it is. As long as I think what I hear from you're saying is we at least have to call a spade a spade. If it's going to cost this much, at least say it's going to cost this much. Don't try and sweep things under the rug and say something is the way it is when it isn't. Am I correct on that?
That's partially it, but partially a big part of it is, why are we going against their own commitments? For example, and environment is a big one. The construction of that event center will emit roughly 500,000 tons of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Mm-hmm. That's according to values in that put out by the World Bank. Putting a value on that, the Canadian government says that those, what they call embodied emissions, can be valued at $231 per ton. That's $135 million of social costs over and above the cost of the arena. That's what they estimate. And not just the Canadian government. The, what is the big university in the US, Eastern US there, anyhow, Princeton? Anyhow, one of them estimated the same number. So it's going to cost us the $500 million to build it, and then there's going to be another $135 million of added costs in social costs because of it, because of those emissions. So where is that? That won't be in the September report, I'll guarantee it. Now, yeah. I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't believe they will.
I'd just like to see whatever is, just say it like it is. Just come out and say it. And, but a lot of these, I don't like games with people, like anywhere in relationships with friends or family, politics. Well, I just don't like games. I just come out and be who you are. And
well, I'll tell you another game. If we got a couple more minutes.
We're gonna have to make it really quick because we're out of time now. But if you want to make the points, go ahead, and then we'll then close off.
Okay. Well, the landfill site on Kingsway, we've already been told it's going to cost us $200 million down the road to either expand it or replace it. Okay, that's $200 million. So what are we doing now with all the landfill material from these houses and businesses they're demolishing? And they plan to demolish the arena, the existing arena as well. So that'll fill up that landfill pretty quickly. So you can add another $200 million to the cost of the event center just from the landfill requirements.
Okay.
That's it. I'll let it go for now. In a couple of weeks, we'll hear us announce another meeting. So keep the faith.
Well, and keep up the work that you're doing. I mean, people definitely appreciate it. They want to hear they want to hear the truth is what they want to hear. And what we're getting here is two sides. One is the city and one's what you're saying. And so at least people can listen to the two sides and make up their own minds. And I don't mind doing that myself. I think that's a way to investigate things and not take things just for granted and just have blind faith, so to speak, and know why you're believing what you're believing. So thank you very much, Tom, and for Bob being on today. Appreciate you guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. You're welcome anytime. So remember, everyone, to look into things on your own. Don't just take what you're given. Always ask questions, and remember to stay aware. Like, share, take care. We'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing, tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM, and we'll see you then. Have a great one, and ciao for now. Bye, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.